All right, looking at Algebra 2 here, 11-1, and this is a unit, topic, chapter, whatever, on statistics. Statistics being the area of mathematics where you are analyzing data. So this first lesson, it's a lot of, just a whole bunch of vocabulary is really the biggest idea. Starting with this first example and the highlighted vocab, a statistical question. And the way I talk about a statistical question is you collect the data or you're given a bunch of data and then you analyze that, or as they say here, summarize that data to draw conclusions. So the two examples they have, in what month is your birthday? You could collect a bunch of information from people that show that. And then the second question, what month has the most birthdays of students at your school? So question one is answered just with a single piece of information. What month is your birthday? If you were going to follow that, though, to do it as a statistical question, so the first one might be, like they say over there in this bubble on the right, it might be a part of the question two. But question two, the way it's worded, is actually the one where you're analyzing and summarizing. So that one would be the statistical question. Let's move on. All right. So which of these are a statistical question? Which is the most popular visual art form? Photography, painting, sculpting, or drawing? Like that's going to give you something you can collect data about and then draw conclusions. Or just part B, how many lithographs were created by the artist M.C. Escher? Well, the second one is just an answer, a single number answers that. So that's not a statistical question. The first one would be. So a statistical variable, that's like the thing that you're going to measure. It's the thing you're asking or collecting data on, and then a categorical variable, the data falls into categories so that you have a quality rather than a quantity. So statistical variable, you're going to usually have something counted, a quantity, and categories of variables. Those are going to be more like words that aren't numbers or numerical. All right. How about what type of statistical variable is represented in the following? What is the typical number of apps a teenager has on a smartphone? Is that answered by a word that's not a number, or is it answered by numbers? And in this case, that would be answered by numbers. So if we look back here again, that's as opposed to when you're answering it with a quality. So this is answering it with a quantity. Okay, so the quantity, a number of items. Okay, so that's going to be a numerical type of a variable. Okay, let's see. How about what type of statistical variable here? Categorical or quantitative? So category being like a word and quantity being a number. So what breed of dog is most likely to be adopted from an animal shelter? What breed? That's a category. You don't answer that with a number. You answer that with like a word. And what is the average number of students per activity? That's a quantity. You're going to answer that. So those are the two types. So the difference between a population and a sample. So the population, it's all the members of the group that you want to know something about. So if I want to know about all of the school and I ask a portion of the people in the school at random, the portion in the school I ask is the sample, and the population is the school. If I want to know about a certain city, then I would have the city as my population, and I ask at random people from the city. So population and sample. Well, how about this one then? So a city worker collects 5 vials of water from each of 10 randomly selected, key there, that randomly, so that you have a good study. A city worker collects the 5 vials of water from each of 10 randomly selected locations all over the city to test for levels of bacteria. So what's the sample? The sample is the 5 vials that they collect. What's the population would be the 10 locations for the water in the city. So the sample is the ones you actually have in your study, and then the population is what you're generalizing it back out to. All right, continuing here. A parameter, it's a measure of the population, and a statistic, it describes the sample. So the statistics, like after you do the analysis, and the parameter is what is the thing that you're trying to analyze. So a parameter or a statistic, 53.2% of the district's eligible vote is vote. That's going to be, when you have a specific number that you've analyzed, that's your statistic. Okay, when you go back and you're generalizing now and looking for what's the median age of a car of 20 random selected spaces in the school parking lot, it's 7 years. So this is the median age. This is getting back to the whole thing that you're trying to measure, the parameter. So as I said from the beginning, just a whole lot of vocabulary here. And the biggest thing that, again, I think you just really can understand here is that if we're doing a statistical question, you have to collect data where you might have categories of data and you might have quantities, so numbers. But then when you go and do the analysis of it, that's what you're going to be doing in the statistics. So quick overview, this first lesson, just a lot of vocab, not a whole lot of the specific math that you're going to do with it yet, but hopefully that helps.